Hi there, Sage Canaday of VO2 Max Productions here with another training vlog update. Today we're not only going to talk about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, we're also going to talk a little bit about how my Pikes Peak Ascent Race went, as well as summer mountain MUT running and the rest of the season and kind of what training entails and what's been going on. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support and views, and I'll enjoy my ice cold Avery IPA here. So anyway, I was nominated several times for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and I totally failed to comply. I guess there's a 24-hour rule thing with that, and you know, I goofed. It's my bad on that. But you know what? Instead of dumping an ice cold bucket or cup of water on my head in the shower, I decided that, you know, it'd be better to actually just donate to ALS. But if you do want to see me dump some ice cold water maybe on my head, stay tuned till the end of this video, I will say. But anyway, I like to do a charitable donation every year to a charity, and usually it's UNICEF. I've been supporting UNICEF for the last couple years, or shall I say VO2 Max Productions LLC has been supporting UNICEF, and I usually donate to the international campaign for clean drinking water, because it kind of strikes near to my heart. But ALS, I think, is a great cause, and I'm going to use this opportunity to do a donation of $100 to ALS, and this is through VO2 Max Production. It's through support from viewers like you who've supported the YouTube channel, who have may or may not have clicked on ads that appear below, and you know, just from running and everything that I felt has been given to me in the sport, I've been very fortunate. So this is just my little way of giving back, and I don't have a whole lot of money. $100 donation is actually pretty big for me, but I feel like if everyone just gave a little, or gave what they could, the world would be a better place. So this is kind of my way of giving back, and I'll thank you for the support as well, because I definitely wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for all the views and subscriptions on this YouTube channel. So I'm gonna click donate right there. I've already filled it out. 100 bucks, ALS, good to go. But stay tuned till the end of this video if you want to be entertained. Now, as far as my season's been going, this whole summer's been basically dedicated to high altitude mountain MUT ultras and shorter mountain races. And started with the Speed Goat 50K. It's gone on with the Pikes Peak Ascent, and then in 3 weeks it'll be the RUT 50K Sky Running World Championship Final, World Ultra Series Championship Final. So I'll be going head to head with Killian Jornet. Hopefully be a good race there. Don't know what the course is going to be like exactly, but looking forward to that. So obviously Speed Goat went very well for me. I was looking for a step forward in my fitness and progression in the sport, and I hadn't really gotten that until I feel like Speed Goat this year. Because it's definitely a harder course, and definitely a hotter day. There was more climbing, and I ran what I thought was a far superior performance than what I did the previous year. So it's always good to gauge your barometer, or to gauge your performances on previous race courses and efforts like that, and look for that progression and consistency over time. So carrying that momentum, I went straight into the Pikes Peak Ascent, which was the WMRA World Long Distance Challenge, and we had, I think, 18 different countries represented there. So it was really exciting. You know, runners from all over the world, top mountain runners, and U.S. team was particularly strong, men's and women's. The women's team actually ended up going 1, 2, 3 in the Pikes Peak Ascent Race, which was super impressive, and I was able to pull off the win and lead Team USA to a gold medal for the team title as well. And you know, looking at the race, people say it's a net uphill race. It's, you know, 13.3 miles long, 7,000 feet of vertical. You know, it should be right up my alley, and it definitely is, but there's something about the bar trail that I still am not so sure about. I don't know if it's because it levels out a little bit, or that there's enough rocky steps or enough slippery sand that it's not quite like the first climb at Speed Goat. It's not quite like Mount Washington. It's not quite like the 2 climbs at White River, because those are definitely my favorite. But nonetheless, I ran a good race there. It was a good day on the mountain for me personally, and I felt really good about it. And going into the race, I mean, on paper, I definitely would say I don't have the highest VO2 max of any of the runners in the field. There were guys with sub 13:40 5K PRs. There were, you know, sub 29-minute 10K runners in the race, and that's definitely not me. I've never been tested before, but if I had to guess, my VO2 max is probably around 72. So it's definitely not in my wheelhouse to lead up to the halfway point at bar camp, and I definitely was not in the lead there. It's kind of part of my strategy, and also the fact that I couldn't cross my threshold to go out any faster. But I was banking on ultra strength, my marathon strength, and the last 3 miles above tree line at Pikes were going to be my strength, and so that's kind of what I capitalized on. I paced myself through my exact splits that I wanted to hit through there. I took V-Fuel during the race. I stayed hydrated as well as I could through the aid stations, and I just put my head down and went with 3 miles to go. And I was in 3rd place at the time. I had a 2-minute deficit to make up, and the 2 guys ahead of me kind of ended up fading more. It wasn't the fact that I threw down this crazy surge at the end. I was basically feeling like I was dying, and I just put my head down and tried not to walk too much. But it was a good race for me, and I felt really good about it, taking the lead in the final half mile up some of the steepest sections on the course at about 13,800 feet of altitude, I'd say. So definitely a huge advantage to be altitude trained, and definitely I did a lot of recon on the mountain in the weeks leading into the race, and that definitely pays off. If you could always research a course profile ahead of time and try to train specifically for a course, it's just a huge advantage. And when I look back on the race now, it was an extremely painful experience, especially the last 2 or 3 miles. I was really just digging. And the last mile when I took the lead was really painful as well. But it was also really exhilarating. And the thrill of knowing that you're executing, you're overcoming these mental barriers to bring out the best in your physical potential, I think is really rewarding. And I think that's what kind of makes the sport worthwhile. And I've been doing some reading. I got this book, Flow. It's a very good book. I'd recommend it. I've only read about the first chapter, but it really capitalizes the importance, I think, of why we do this crazy distance running, mountain running, ultra running sport. And it's, you know, it basically says in the first chapter, like, the obvious things: money, wealth, sex, power, drugs. None of that stuff's gonna make you happy. You're always gonna have these expectations that are higher than what you make. So if you're making $120,000 a year, $200,000 a year, or $1 million a year, you might not be any happier necessarily. And, you know, obviously material things aren't gonna buy you happiness either. But he says what kind of brings out true happiness in your life is when you're in this feeling of flow. And he describes it as, you know, being in the moment when you're pushing your body at 100% in this athletic endeavor, endurance sports, or you're totally invested yourself in something creative, whether you're painting up a frenzy or you're playing the piano, and you're just in the zone and you're totally focused. And that skill, that mastery is what's exhilarating and which kind of brings out, you know, no expectations because you're too concentrated in the moment. But that's, you know, what life's all about, and finding satisfaction from that. And, you know, I look back on the race and I was in a lot of pain with a half mile to go, but I also look back on that moment and I say, you know what, that was exhilarating. It was really exciting to take the lead, and even more exciting to be able to push my body to that extreme and get the most out of myself and have a good day in the mountains. So personally, if you look back on, you know, some of your best performances, some of the best races where you really surprised yourself, you might have been really hurting at the time, you might have been swimming in lactic acid, but, you know, you look back on that and you're pretty satisfied. And it was that, you know, couple miles of severe pain that we put ourselves through intentionally, that's satisfying, and that's everlasting happiness, I guess. So, you know, that kind of perception I think is really cool to apply to such a niche sport like distance running or any of your other hobbies that you engage in. And I think, you know, it's not about the prize money. When I was running, I will admit, I did think of prize money briefly when I was in 3rd place. I was like, I wonder what the difference is between 3rd and 1st place. It was $1,400, but that wasn't the main motivator when it came down to it. And when I look back on it, the main motivator was to get the best out of myself on the day and to obviously try to win, but I don't really think it matters what place you're in necessarily. The thrill of victory is nice, but the thrill of pushing yourself past preconceived notions of what your limits might be, that is the true satisfaction I think you get from the sport. As well as the community and the MUT running community and the beer drinking at the end of races. And I swear I'm not drunk. This is only I'm only a beer and a half in tonight. So this is not a drunk rant, but it is a long rant. So I'm gonna try to wrap it up here. So I guess in essence, go out and find your flow. Check out that book. And you know, when you're out there running or training for a race, I'd say the most important thing I've learned is really the course profile that determines everything. I don't think it's necessarily the distance of the race, but more the course profile, like where the hills happen, how steep, what percentage grade the hills are, what kind of terrain you're gonna be running on, whether it's a smooth trail or it's a rocky surface with steps, or it's gonna be muddy and wet. All those things really make more of a difference than the sheer amount of distance. And you know, that being said, I'm excited about the Rut 50K. I want to close out the Skyrunning World Series. I want to race the best guys like Killian. But I was also really tempted to jump in Run Rabbit Run 100 miler. And definitely a 100-mile distance is calling my name. I'll probably do Western States next year if I qualify again or if I get in the lottery. And the reason I'm not doing Run Rabbit Run, it's on the same day as the Rut. And you know, it was real tempting to see Rob Carr sign up for that, especially after his success at Leadville, and super impressive running there and super impressive consistency for such a long distance. And that really excites me, that extra challenge to go the distance, but also just to get out there and try to get in that sense of flow where you're pushing yourself at your body's limit, and you're transcending all external worries, you're transcending, you know, other expectations that have been placed upon you. And you know, those are the moments that are worth it, I think, in running, and that you could look back on and share stories, share battle stories with your friends and fellow runners over a beer. So now I guess it's time for me to go to the shower and do some ice bucketing. All right, so you got ice in the ice bucket. It's ice cold water. And I know I'm supposed to nominate 3 people, but I'm just gonna nominate all you YouTube subscribers. So there. If you haven't done it yet, you have 24 hours to do this or donate, or both. So here we go. This is gonna hurt, isn't it? I don't know. I hope I'm not gonna spill it out. Here we go. Wow, that was a rush. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more via 2Max Productions.